I don't know if people have seen that old movie, The Invasion of the Body Snatchers,
Yes.
but I don't, I saw it when I was a kid, but it's like a weird like virus. It's like a virus, like it's spreading and people get taken over, and then who's the last human left alive? And obviously, I'm exaggerating, but that's kind of what it feels like to be on a college campus in the United States. Again, I'm overstating because not all
Yeah.
campuses have had this happen, but a strange new moral form erupted around 2015. It was a new moral matrix, we might say. My own research, I should say, is on moral psychology. I'm a social psychologist. I do experimental research, correlational research across cultures, across social classes. And in the United States, I've come to especially look at how the morality of the left and the right differ. So here I am studying all these different moralities, and this new moral form emerges on American campuses around 2014, in which students are suddenly saying, I feel unsafe, this book is violence, this speaker is traumatizing. And most of us couldn't understand what they meant when they were saying they felt unsafe. Like, what do you mean? Like, will they hurt you? And it was a new attitude towards speech and ideas. And then it spread very quickly. And the way this new morality works is the world is seen in terms of danger and safety. And on a college campus, from roughly 420 BC until about 2014, college professors were supposed to be provocative. That was part of the fun of coming to college, is you could think about anything, you'd be challenged. And beginning in 2014, 2015, professors began getting in trouble for saying things that somebody in the class found offensive. If one person finds it offensive, they can report you. So this is what spread rapidly in 2015, especially around Halloween. For some reason, I don't know if you know about it. Do you do Halloween? Do you guys dress up in costumes at Halloween?
Yeah, we do, but it's a bit like Christmas. We take the PR version and we spend lots of money and eat lots of sugar. I think that's about that.
Okay, that's about what we do too.
Yeah.
But college students, they dress up as sexy nurse or pirate or things like that.
Right.
And there emerged this extreme. It was a combination of extreme fragility and extreme sort of political sensitivity. So if somebody dressed up as say a geisha, a Japanese geisha, that would be a scandal. If you dress up as any culture other than your own, that would be called cultural appropriation. Mm-hmm. And for each of these things, there is a justification. It's not as though these are individually crazy, each one, but the pattern. It just changed. Like, I've been teaching for a long time, and students used to love sex and humor and jokes about sex. But now we can't do any of that. We can't even talk about sex. It's just somebody will get upset, somebody will report you. So this weird thing emerged, and then it very quickly showed up in Canada and Britain as well. It's not as much in Britain as it is in the US and Canada. And so my friend Greg Lukianoff had this idea in 2014 that students were beginning to think in exactly the ways that he had learned to stop thinking when he was trained in cognitive behavioral therapy. Greg was prone to depression. He is prone to depression. He had a suicidal depression in 2007, and when he was released from the hospital, he learned CBT and improved his thinking, and was able to fight off the depression. And then he goes back to his job, which is actually protecting free speech rights of students. He's the president of the Foundation for Individual Rights in Education. He goes back to his job in 2008. And in 2013, 2014, he starts seeing students doing exactly the distortions that he learned not to do, like catastrophizing, black and white thinking, overgeneralizing, like really bad thinking. And so he comes to me to tell me this idea that somehow college is making students to think in depressive ways. Might they get depressed? So he and I wrote this up as a paper for The Atlantic called The Coddling of the American Mind, and that came out in August of 2015. And then at Halloween 2015, all hell broke loose, and that's when this new morality really went national. So that's what we're suffering under now. It's a call-out culture. It's a kind of a political activism that's all about little symbols. It's not even about big things. It's about like, don't use this word, don't wear this hat. So, all right, I've been talking too long. I'll pass it back to you.
Thank you.
So that's the report from the front line. Weird stuff is happening in American universities.
Look, you mentioned this black and white thinking, and it's a theme that I talk about quite often on the podcast. It's if you really look at something, there's multiple. I mean, most things hopefully sit in a gray area, but I wonder where this push for, you have to decide what you think, and then you have to share that. And maybe it is the idea that we can share it with the world, and maybe it's the internet is encouraging us to want to share something. So you've quickly got to, make up your moral, philosophy. And it's part of the reason I started the podcast, like to have a chat with 1,000 people and then decide what my thoughts are on religion and all those types of things. I mean, how do you find it when, you're having a lot of conversations now with people, and you can look on YouTube and you're all over the place. What do you describe to people what you do? You have the bio that you put on your website. Like, right. This is what I kind of think of you, and tell me if I'm wrong, but you're someone who's analyzing, kind of the morals we're living and trying to kind of feed it back to us in a way that makes sense. I mean, does that make sense?
No, it does. It does. In fact, let me look up. This is like totally geeky here.
This is awesome.
So I teach in a business school now. I'm a social psychologist, and I was in the psychology department at the University of Virginia for a long time.
Yep.
And then I moved to a business school. And soon after I got to a business school, I wrote my own mission statement. That's what sounds totally geeky. Every organization. I teach ethical leadership and ethics. Let me just see. Wait, what's this?
Yeah, cool.
No, hold on a second. I can remember it roughly.
Yeah, cool.
So my mission, because I study moral psychology, so my mission is to use moral psychology and social psychology more generally to help complex systems work better. And the complex systems that I'm involved in, originally in 2004, I started devoting my work to understanding the causes of political polarization. The culture war in the United States was getting really nasty, and I could see that it was leading to decreased trust. It was leading to dysfunction in Congress. So I got very alarmed by our rising hatred across party lines. I got interested in political institutions and democracy in general. So that's one. And then when I moved to a business school, I started looking at how moral psychology can help businesses work better. Because if you have an ethical culture, then there's more trust, there's less risk of being sued, of being prosecuted. And so I run a collaboration called ethicalsystems.org to help businesses use behavioral science. And then when all hell broke loose on college campuses in 2015, I co-founded an organization called heterodoxacademy.org, which we now have 2,700 professors who think that, we actually need viewpoint diversity to do our work. We don't want to be all on one side. So that's what I do. I find problems that bother me, and then I think, hey, if we got the right people and the right research, I bet we could figure this out. And then I invite people to join, and I put up a website, and we synthesize the available research, and we create products tools that might be helpful. So that's basically what I do with my time.
And when you're analyzing data, because I would say a lot of people just get on with life, right? And we're encouraged to do that. You should probably go to work and have a family and try and hang out with people that you enjoy and I guess go to the films like Avengers and things like that take your mind off the bigger things. If you're someone like yourself who's looking at the bigger picture, is it a good place to be? Do you feel hopeful? Or if you're looking at all of this data and you're seeing, the relationship between Instagram and kids and all that kind of stuff, how do you kind of have to cache it when you get home and stuff like that?
Right. So that's a really interesting question. The funny thing is that our happiness is not much related to how we think the world is going. And I think the world is going to hell. Now, Steve Pinker and many other people point out that materially speaking, things are getting better, and he's right. So, in most ways, the world's getting better. I don't want to overstate it. But in terms of democracy, in terms of the mental health of Gen Z, the kids born after 1996. There's a lot of really serious problems. My own country is really going to hell. Our politics is not deadly, but our politics is dysfunctional. So overall, I'm really despairing and hopeless about the future in a lot of ways. But you know what? The worse things get, the better it is for me in my career, because I study this stuff. And the point I'm trying to make here is not that I'm some sick bastard who takes pleasure in the sickness of the world. It's that our happiness comes not from global things. It comes from very local things. I have a great family. I love my job. I'm a professor at NYU, which is a great university. And I feel incredibly engaged in applying everything I know to address problems I care about. So I have a very deep sense of meaning and purpose. I love my life. I'm actually very happy. I think in general, the internet and social media have linked us all into nastiness and global problems that really are, I'm not saying we shouldn't let it affect our happiness, but, so I guess you'd say, think global, but live your life local. Be aware of what's going on. But we don't really help matters just by retweeting angry things to get other people angry. Produce value for someone else, which is why they'll pay you. That's the only reason you'd ever get hired. Produce value for other people. You meet your obligations, help those that are close to you. And the world has always been getting better and always going to hell at the same time. So we have to find a way to live with that.